I remember the exact moment I sensed something was off. It was the way she walked through the door, her steps heavy as though she were carrying a burden no one else could see. "I'm not feeling well," she muttered, dropping her purse on the kitchen counter before sinking onto the couch. Her face looked washed out, her lips pulled into a tight, practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. I wanted to chalk it up to exhaustion, but something twisted in my stomach, an old instinct I couldn't ignore. What I saw in her expression wasn't just sickness. It was fear or guilt. I offered her water, tried to ease into conversation. "You've been getting home late a lot," I said carefully, keeping my voice steady. She shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "Just work. I'm tired." But even as she said it, the space between us widened in a way I couldn't deny. That night, after she drifted off to sleep, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the low hum of the city. I kept telling myself I was imagining things, that I was reading too much into nothing. 2 days later, a phone call destroyed whatever denial I had left. The voice on the other end belonged to a woman I'd never heard before, formal, hesitant. "Is this Mark?" she asked. There was something weighted, almost fragile in her tone. I think you need to see this." Still confused, I followed the instructions she gave me and ended up at a small clinic across town. She handed me a stack of papers, test results I had never authorized, never even knew existed. My heart froze as I scanned the pages. It was her, my wife, and she hadn't been sick at all. She had tested positive for something far worse. It wasn't an illness. It was confirmation of her infidelity. The woman in front of me explained that she was the wife of the man my wife had been involved with. She hadn't wanted to believe it either. She said quietly, her hands shaking, "I thought you should know before things get worse." The drive home blurred by. My fingers squeezed the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I repeated my wife's name in my head over and over, trying to make sense of something senseless. I imagined confronting her, but when I walked through the door, she was there on the couch wearing that same pale, fragile look from days earlier. "Mark," she said carefully, I didn't let her finish. "I saw the results," I said, my voice shaking. "I know everything." She recoiled as if I had struck her. The silence that followed was suffocating. "It's complicated," she whispered. "I never meant." "You never meant." I cut in, anger simmering beneath the shock. "You never meant to hurt me, to destroy everything we built." My voice cracked despite my efforts to stay composed. Her eyes filled with tears, but they didn't soften the blow. Tears couldn't fix this. They never could. "I didn't plan for it," she said quietly. "It just happened." I wanted to yell, throw something, anything that could match the chaos tearing through me. But all I felt was an empty hollowness threatening to swallow me whole. I thought of all the signs I had brushed aside. Her late nights, the sudden obsession with looking perfect, the flinch when I touched her phone. I thought about weekends now stained with hidden messages and stolen moments. "Why?" I whispered at last. "Why him? Why risk everything for him?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her silence was heavier than any explanation she could have given. For days, I wandered to the house like a ghost, drifting past memories that suddenly felt foreign. I avoided her eyes, avoided the questions swirling through my mind. But every time I closed my own, I saw her smiling at her phone, sharing pieces of herself with someone else. Then came another kind of confrontation, one she never intended. She left her laptop, open one night. Heartbreak and anger fueled my curiosity, and I looked. There they were, messages, plans, confessions she had never meant for me to read. The more I scrolled, the deeper the betrayal carved into me, searing through my chest. And yet, beneath all the pain, something shifted. Clarity. This was no longer just anger. This was about survival, about figuring out how to exist in a life that had been shattered. I couldn't undo what she did, but I could reclaim whatever pieces of myself remained. When I confronted her again, it was different. No yelling, no demands. I simply laid everything out, every detail I knew, letting the truth sit between us like a stone too heavy to move. Her eyes darted everywhere but to mine, and her guilt brought me no comfort, only the sharp reminder of how fragile love truly is. I can't keep living like this, I said at last, the words bitter on my tongue. I need space. Time to see if what we had can even be repaired. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand, she whispered, but it was an empty understanding. Fragile, shallow, nothing like the life we once shared. Weeks passed. The house grew colder, quieter, as though it too mourned what had been lost. Friends and family sensed attention, asked questions, but I gave them vague reassurances. The pain was mine, no one else's. One night, I sat alone in the living room staring at our wedding photos. Her smile, once warm and comforting, now felt like a cruel reminder of what had been destroyed. And yet, somewhere inside the heartbreak, something dawned on me. I was still standing. Damaged, yes, but alive. I didn't know if we'd ever recover, or the threads of our marriage could be stitched back together. But I did know this. I had seen betrayal in its rawest form. I had tasted heartbreak at its deepest. And though it tore me apart, it also awakened something fierce, an unyielding clarity that I would no longer live inside lies, false hope, or a love that cost me my self-respect. That night, I went to bed alone, not peacefully, but with a new resolve. Life had shifted. Everything had changed. Yet inside me, a small spark remained, quiet, fragile, but still alive. And in that spark, I found the strength to rebuild, to create a life where truth mattered more than appearances, where I trusted myself again, even if I could never trust her. Yes, the betrayal scarred me, but it taught me something I'll carry forever. Love can crumble, hearts can break, but a soul willing to face the truth, no matter how painful, can endure, survive, and eventually begin to heal. I sat there long after midnight, the paper still in my hand, feeling the full weight of everything I'd lost. And somewhere deep within, I felt the faintest stirrings of something new, freedom and the quiet hope that a life after heartbreak was still possible.